Hello everybody and welcome back for the weekly VR news, where I recap everything that happened in VR in the last week, prepare you for this week's new releases, and then focus in on one major story. Today, we'll be discussing a bunch of games that are still releasing in 2022, all of which I've already demoed and you guys should be excited about. There's also a major horror game sale, a handful of spooky updates to your existing titles, and even some excellent new releases. But today's main event will be a discussion on how I feel the Quest Pro is a broken product. Now there are of course links and timestamps to all of today's topics, but before we jump in, this video is sponsored by Kiwi Design, one of my favorite sites for VR accessories. They recently released some new Quest 2 headphones that promise to pack some extra bass and increase your audio experience. They currently have my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap with battery pack, and there's plenty of other accessories like enhanced controller grips, replacement facial covers, link cables, and much more. There's a link down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so starting off like normal, we have new releases. If you've never tried Google Earth in VR, I highly recommend it, but now you can take it one step further with Wooorld. Join a bunch of your friends online, locate a place on the map where you want to go, and then be instantly transported. It's an absolutely wild new way to take in the world, and yes, that pun was intended. They also have support for the new Quest Pro, which can give a bit more dramatic flair as you move from AR into a full VR environment. Now, if you're actually looking for a bit more game, the horror-themed action-adventure title Revenant's Spirit in Mind has just recently released. You're an occult investigator utilizing new technology to locate, battle, and capture demonic entities. Between levels, you'll get to pick which technology you think is best for each case, but you'll always have your trusty Pentacam with you, which is a magically fueled camera capable of capturing demons. Overall, it's an interesting set of mechanics, operating a bit like a single-player version of Phasmophobia. Currently, the game features a single case, but will be releasing additional cases in the future. Now, in upcoming releases, we have Desperate Vladivostok. From the same developers who brought us Guns and Stories and Boiling Steel, comes an ultra-brutal bullet hell action-adventure title with an art style reminiscent of Borderlands. You'll be taking on the role of a hired killer in a post-Soviet cyberpunk era, battling across over 50 handcrafted scenes of puzzle-like combat. There's also a global leaderboard and some voice-acted cutscenes if you're looking for that type of stuff. Overall, it looks like some nice, casual, ultra-violent fun that I have to check out for myself. Okay, so that was this week's short but sweet list of new releases. But we did also get release dates for some amazing upcoming titles, starting with the melee sword fighter Broken Edge. Releasing on November 17th for only $9.99, this game is poised to be the melee version of Blast On. It's a 1v1 duel to the death, where you get to embody historical sword fighters. All characters are equipped with unique weapons and distinctive martial arts style. Mastering this is the key to dominating your foes. On top of all this, it has a truly unique art style that absolutely shines in VR. And speaking of shining in VR, Hubris, one of the best looking games I've ever played, is releasing on December 7th. This is a single-player action-adventure title that has you crash landing on an alien planet, and it's full of stunning visuals, swimming, climbing, puzzle solving, and of course alien shooting fun. I tried a demo of this game a few months back and was extremely impressed. From the storytelling to the gameplay, this felt like a AAA title, and the visuals can easily compete with something like Half-Life Alyx. So this is an absolutely huge title to look out for, and you might want to go ahead and wishlist it right now. And while we're talking about excellent titles on the way, I've recently been demoing a lot of unreleased games, including Peaky Blinders, Espire 2, Drop Dead the Cabin, and finally Gambit. All of these titles have impressed me, and I've just been a little bit too busy to get any specific coverage out on them. That will change this week though, as I do some special co-op coverage, as 3 of those 4 games I mentioned are co-op titles, and they're all shaping up to be quite excellent. So if you want to hear more about them, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and come back later this week when I post that video. Now, in a tiny bit of bad news, the title Firmament by the developers of Myst has been delayed again until the first quarter of 2023. Now, this is set to be a visually stunning adventure puzzle title. It'll be releasing in both flat and VR modes, and while you might not have heard much about this title, there has been a certain level of hype surrounding it all the way back since their 2019 Kickstarter. Myst holds a very special place in the history of video games, and the studio is attempting to recapture that for the next generation. Overall, we haven't seen too much of this title, and it's gone through numerous delays, so at the moment, I'm cautiously optimistic. Okay, let's move into some updates for existing games, starting with a new 4-person Horde mode for Project Terminus. This title originally released a year ago, and currently features a 2-part campaign where you have to scavenge for supplies in a post-apocalyptic Paris. It's crossplay between Quest and PCVR, so you could bring a buddy along for that campaign. And now, while we're waiting for the 3rd part of the campaign to release, we could jump into a 4-person survival Horde mode. To make this add-on even cooler, the developers are running a special event between now and November 13th, and the top team on the leaderboard will get their very own custom Project Terminus merchandise. So now you definitely have a reason to jump back into this game, just like you do for the new Synth Rider Spooky update. The new track Riot by Dance with the Dead is currently available, and it will not only get you moving, but maybe put a little bit of a chill down your spine. The city landscape is bat infested, with Halloween themed shapes flying towards you. There's also some new Halloween themed decals available, and some new spooky themed daily challenges. I was happy to see Synth Riders get into the Halloween spirit, just like Steam VR did with their major horror themed sale. Until November 1st, the vast majority of VR horror games is currently on sale. I recently put out a list of the best VR horror games. Basically, every single title on that list is now currently on sale. So I'll put a pop-up to that video if you want to go check it out. But to just quickly throw out some recommendations, there's After the Fall, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Phasmophobia, and The Forest. But let's move into some hand tracking updates. The absolutely amazing tabletop RPG Demeo will be bringing hand tracking support to their title, which is definitely a cool feature, and I'm excited that Resolution Games keeps tapping into all the latest technology, as they recently added Quest Pro AR support to this game, and it's really cool to have options, but I don't think hand tracking will make a big difference for this specific title, but it definitely could for VR chat, as Quest 2 and Quest Pro hand tracking support is currently in beta. Now, if you're a big VR chat fan and you're thinking, well, it doesn't run that great on the Quest 2, well, hand tracking can be carried over via link. So this could be pretty huge for VR chat, as individuals go to great lengths to bring as much immersion as possible into that social environment. And we've recently seen options in the Quest settings to carry facial and eye tracking information over link, so that can be a very obvious next step. And looking forward to the future, between Meta's body tracking approximation and the additional cameras on their controllers, full body tracking without additional accessories may eventually become a real possibility. Okay, so before we move into our final topic, I have a little bit of good news, bad news. The bad news is London Studio, the developers of Blood and Truth, have stated that their next title is not a VR game. So for those who are holding out for Blood and Truth 2, it looks like we're out of luck. But in good news, Meta confirmed a leak/rumor about the Quest 3, and that it will be releasing sometime next year. The obvious time period would either be Meta Connect or possibly the gaming showcase, but Meta Connect seems much more likely, and I'm just hoping this hardware comes with a lineup of new releases. Okay, so here it is, our big discussion of today, how the Quest Pro has kind of broken things for Meta. Now that's both figuratively and literal. When it comes to VR hardware design, they basically broke their traditional mold. It's not affordable, it's not consumer targeted, and it's basically high-end. At the same time, the market response to this device has been pretty terrible for Meta. They're leaning heavier than ever into the metaverse and XR technologies, but the financial industry is losing faith, and Meta's stock continues to tank, now resting at its lowest point in nearly 7 years. And this is where I have to admit, I don't fully understand their choice of how they marketed or decided to sell the Quest Pro right now. I currently have a review/early impressions up of the Quest Pro if you want to go check out my full thoughts on this headset, but in a nutshell, it's basically a dev kit with an unreasonable price tag, with features and a use case that's either yet to be fully utilized or just outright useless. Where I really enjoy the Quest Pro is the fact that it is a better Quest 2, but it's definitely not a $1,100 worthy upgrade. And the new features is where this headset kind of breaks down for me. For the current Quest owner, they wouldn't really add much. But again, it's not targeted at consumers, but rather enterprise and other specific business use cases. But even then, I am so hard pressed to say it's useful, except for some very niche use cases. I went on and on about the poor quality of the AR and how I can't see my screen, and the user response was, well, you're supposed to use virtual screens. Well, if I'm going to be working in a fully virtual environment, why don't I just use any other VR headset out there? Which the typical response was, well, the Quest Pro has all-day comfort. And while some may agree with that, that all-day comfort only comes with a 90-minute battery life. And while eye and facial tracking is undeniably cool, I just don't know when it's going to be utilized, especially because the leaks say it won't be on the Quest 3. So all in all, Meta had an event around a new product, which was actually a dev kit, and this is what's definitely confusing the industry. Normally, we'd see an event like this for a brand new product like the iPhone. Get everybody jazzed up, raise your stock price, and get those pre-orders in for the mass market. The Quest Pro is not that device, so the financial sector is left scratching their head, and Meta's stock tanks. This headset has also left me completely conflicted. Personally, I really like the updates it includes, but it's just a marginally better Quest 2. So this feels like Meta is once again doubling or even tripling down on this technology. They're going to hand it over to enterprise with the hopes that some amazing use cases will emerge and people will fall in love with this. And this is echoed by their recent statements, because all eyes are on Meta right now, criticizing their spending, telling them to pull back on this whole metaverse stuff. But instead, Zuckerberg has dug his heels into the ground and said, not only will we continue this spending, but we will spend even more. So I truly respect this all in nature. I gotta give a lot of credit to Meta to not bow down to this pressure and to follow what they believe in. They're truly the one company really pushing VR forward at the moment, and I would hate for them to crash and burn. So let's hope the poorly received Quest Pro launch is just a bump in the road, another momentary setback that was inevitable due to breaking into a new technological field, and VR would just continue to press forward from this point on. Now that was today's video, but I would love to know how you guys feel down in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and as always, I will see you guys on next time.